Hi, geography class. There we are, waving. Um, I'm your teacher, Mr. Gibson, and I'm here to present you your final assignment. It's Trip Across Canada project. Anyways, so what I'm going to do here is what I would normally do in class. I'm going to kind of walk you through the assignment. I strongly encourage that you read the assignment, press pause, the two pause buttons, and read the assignment first and then come back and watch this video. So if you haven't done so, please do that now. And I'll just wait. I'll just fill in some empty space. Okay, so now that you've read that, let's take a look at what we have to do. Essentially, this is a four-parter assignment. You need to make a trip across Canada, kind of like a travel log. And you, in your planning of your trip across Canada, you have to hit 4 different places. Whoa, there we are, 4 different places. And there are some criteria to these different places. You need to see at least one territory, and you need to visit at least one national park. Aside from that, go nuts. Oh, don't go to Toronto because you live there and you know it already. So this is kind of an idea to get you looking at the awesome things that this country can offer. And perhaps living vicariously through a project like this because you can't visit those places on account of the coronavirus. I don't know, vicarious hope for the future. Anyways, so in the 3 places you visit, they line up with the 4 places you visit line up with 4 units that we've covered in this course: physical geography, changing population, so demographics. The resources, this is what we started learning when we went away for March break and then started the whole distance learning thing. So looking at, whether it's lumber or fish or oil. And then finally, the livable communities, looking at urbanization essentially in the last few weeks. That's what we've been doing. So you'll basically be hitting a location in Canada that fits into those 4 different categories or those 4 different units. So for instance, your physical geography, hold on, I can circle stuff on the screen here. Yeah, I can. Look at that. Okay, so for physical geography, you're going to want to hit all of these things here. They've been underlined, emphasizing their importance. And you're going to go to a national park to kind of hit all those criteria. It makes sense that you would go to a national park for those because this is physical geography, and national parks tend to show off the environmental beauty of this country. By contrast, for changing populations, you might choose to go somewhere completely different. You might not go to a national park. You'll go to perhaps a unique environment up north. I mean, if you want to look at changing populations, perhaps one of the best things that you could do with this one would be to look at one of your territories and examine the demographics of that territory and how it's changing. That would fit in well there. For resources, you can go again anywhere. The territories do have interesting resources as well. For example, the Northwest Territories has a beautiful, a very big, I don't think it's beautiful, it's a hole in the ground, but it's a big diamond mine called the Caddy Diamond Mine. So if you want to look at resources, you could look at the Caddy Diamond Mine. Here it is, EKATI. That is a lot harder to write. It's very nice though. And then for the last one, you're going to look essentially at a city, right? Just don't do Toronto because you live here and you know everything about Toronto already because you've learned it, right? Good. So what do you have to do for this aside from that? For each of the places you go to, scroll down. Hopefully you've read along already. Your final product is going to be a slideshow or a PowerPoint. It should have all these criteria, so a title slide, your name, your teacher's name, and so on. Map of Canada showing your travel log where you went. You'll want to put the 5 things you normally put on a map, like title, legend, etc. right there. It's right there. See this? Yeah. Then you're going to want to have a few pages dedicated to each of the locations that you visit based on the criteria, the 4 units. Okay, so you're going to put that in. Then you're going to want to fulfill each of these requirements. So including 3 pictures. You're going to want at least one chart or graph. I'll show you how you can find that stuff in a moment, because there's a lot of great resources from Stats Canada. And then a general write-up, roughly about 200 words in length, about what could happen in that place in the coming years. Because we are geographers, we're able to look at the what's going on now and why, but we should be able to use that information to then predict what's happening in the future. Anyways, so that's kind of what you'll look at. So, for instance, what might happen to a national a park based on the effects of climate change. How are we going to develop our urban areas to make them more sustainable in the future? Things like that. These are questions that you will want to look into, and you've already kind of done those on the discussion questions. So this should be rather easy for you. Now, there is a link here to an exemplar or an example of this. So let's go take a look at that. Whoa, my trip across Canada project, isn't that great? So it says the title, it has all the stuff that it's supposed to be. There's a due date there, probably. And then you take a look and you can see, oh, my head's in the way. Can I move me? I sure can. Over here now. And you see it has all the stuff you're supposed to have. There's a title. It should probably say by so-and-so. You've got your compass, and then you've got your 4 locations that you're supposed to visit there. So 1, 2, the other numbers. So that's basically what you need to put on your map. So moving into the actual report. So let's say we take a look at resources, for instance. I'm moving again. We could look at Glace Bay, Sydney, Nova Scotia. This is not far from where my wife's from. And they have this horrible thing there called the tar ponds. These are basically tailings ponds from the time when they used to extract resources there. They dig coal. I'm clicking. There we are. So you can get some basic information about Sydney Glace Bay. I went to a wedding right in that building right there. Yeah, that one. Anyways, so you can get some information about Sydney Glace Bay, details there. That's fine. And then you want to talk about, in this case, because it's resources, you want to talk about the resources that they extract. So give some details. You can go to the Canadian Encyclopedia. Generally, try to stay away from Wikipedia because it's not peer reviewed. But if you're looking for better sources, you could always go down to the source page of Wikipedia, and typically the links that the URLs they have there are reliable. So try that. Okay, so moving on, you give what's being extracted. So in this case, coal. You could talk about the method that's extracted, and look at this. Look, 1 picture, 2 picture, 3 picture. I've already met the basic requirements of this section, so that's great. If you go further down, next slide. Look, it's a graph. So I've also met the requirement of having a graph in there. And now I'm predicting the future because I'm talking about the decline of coal. This has already happened, but it's certainly continuing in the future. So this is something that impacts on Sydney. I can tell you that the environmental consequences I already talked about in terms of the tar ponds there. That basically the tar ponds there, they just covered them with concrete. It's like what they do with Chernobyl. They just put concrete on there, like this will resolve itself on its own in centuries. So you still can't go near there. The health consequences are you've got, aside from unemployment, but you've got things like black lung that people who used to go into the mines underground would get from breathing in the coal dust. In addition, you've got a higher instance of cancer as a result of the tailings ponds and the pollution from those. And then you've got unemployment as a result of this industry disappearing, and there's really not much else to do because the fisheries are gone. So there's a high rate of unemployment in Sydney Glace Bay. There it is there. See, so a lot of unemployment. And so what you can predict for the future, this is something that they're already doing. They're moving. They've transitioned a lot of their economy over to try to draw tourists. It's Nova Scotia and especially Cape Breton is spectacular. It's beautiful. So they've got a lot of tourism there, coal mining museum. I haven't gone to that, but I've gone to the Grand Alexander Graham Bell Museum, and of course they've got the biggest fortress in Canada, which is Louisbourg. It might be one of the biggest in North America. Google it. Anyways, it's a phenomenal fortress. So they are beginning to transition their economy to service-based tourism. I mean, the effects of COVID-19 on that are going to be disastrous. And then they'll have to look to kind of adjusting yet again. But that's typically what you should be putting into one of these entries. And then you go further and like, here's the next place I went to. And you Montreal, Quebec, sure, and it's in this ecozone, and I'm going to talk about livable communities. So this is where you hit that next option. Whoop, that's not the thing I want to show you. This livable communities is the last one. So if I go to Montreal, if I organize Montreal next, it's the one where I talk about urbanization, and then I put information here. Look at that information. It's right there. And then I can go to the next one and say, oh, I want to look at physical geography. Here's a national park, and also in a one of the territories. So I've hit kind of two of the requirements right up there. I've hit a national park, and it's in a territory. So that's essentially what you want to do. Now, one thing you might be asking, how did I know which ecozone they're from? Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of resources on the class, see this? Useful resources. These are really useful resources. Just do this so we really know that they're useful. Okay, now we know they're really useful because they're circled with red. So I went to those and I looked at the different ecozones. So for instance, let's say I want an ecozone map of Canada. Hello. So I go to that website where it's like ecozone region. And let's say I want to look at let's say I want to make an entry about a national park. So I go back to my assignment and I say, where are the national parks? I don't know. So I click on this link, National Parks of Canada. And I can go to that website and where are you, National Parks of Canada? Let's go back to the top because there we are. Parks Canada. And I can take a look at national parks. So I can go to national parks. It takes me to this site. There's a lot of warnings about COVID, of course. I want to find a national park. So I click on that, find national park. Let's say I want to look at a place in British Columbia. So I click British Columbia and search. And look, I've already clicked on that, but I'm going to click on it again. Glacier National Park. Great place. It's really cool. It's a glacier joke for all you nerds. So basically, I click on Glacier National Park. It will give me tons of information about what I can do there. I can include this stuff in. And let's say I still don't know where Glacier National Park is. I go here. I can, hello, there you are. I can highlight that. I can copy it. I can go to the Google and look, I've already done it. I could just go to a Google Maps, search where Glacier National Park is. Here it is. It's Glacier National Park. So there it is in the map of Canada. I can take a look at that and say, there's my national park. I can go back to my ecozone sheet and be like, oh, it's roughly in this area. Let's click on that. Oh, it's the Montane Cordillera ecozone. That's great. What's life like there? And I can get all this information right from this useful website. So that's how you kind of use these useful resources to get yourself some content. You can use the ArcGIS website for mapping. That was, I mean, disastrous is too harsh a word, but something like in between working and disastrous. It was closer to disastrous. So you can use it if you want, but you don't have to. Stats Canada will be very useful for you if you're looking at demographics. So let's see, where is demographics? It's up here somewhere. Oh yeah, when we have to talk about changing populations, you might need to provide a population pyramid of the province. So this is really cool. You can go to Stats Canada. Hello, Stats Canada. There you are. Let's open you in a new window. Great. Okay, so this is fun. This is already a population pyramid put together for Canada. But you can go in and you can actually find, let's say I want to look at Quebec. Let's say I'm doing a study on Quebec and I want to see what their population pyramid looks like. And I can look at 2016 and it will load up a Quebec versus Quebec population pyramid. Then you can print screen or use the snipping tool to basically capture all this information to put into your actual presentation. But that's how you find your population pyramid. Ooh, they have a lot of people in the 50s and 60s, you see. And then a little bit of a dip here. So there's your baby boom, and you got a dip, your baby boom echo-ish. And then there, you guys are somewhere in there. Oh, not many of you. That's too bad. Okay. Anyway, so that's how you use that one. Look, I'm so small down here. Okay, getting back this time. So that's how you use Stats Canada for the demographic one. What else can I tell you? I'm going to share this with you as well. This is a useful sheet. Let's do some zooming in here. Whoa, so close now. Okay, so what this is it's essentially a checklist. And what I would do is each week, hey, that's this week. Look at that, that's this week. So each week I would go through the assignment and fulfill one of these criteria. You don't have to put them in order. There's 4 sections. You can put them in whatever order you want. You can stick to Unit 1 and do them chronologically based on when we learn them. That's completely up to you. But essentially what you're going to want to do is try to complete one of these entries a week and just keep them in a Google Doc, like a running Google Doc. And essentially when you complete it, you just go, I'm done, and you put a check mark, and I don't know, maybe you feel happy inside, very happy. I don't know. Maybe you might just feel kind of blasé. But either way, you've finished one, which is great. Hold on, I have to check to see if I can. No, I can't draw myself. Okay. So you check off one each week, and then when you're done, you hand it in. I mean, technically try to get it in by June 12th. That will allow me time to mark it. See, it says probably in June sometime. Yeah, let's just change that and make it say 12. Okay, now it's saved. And when you look on the actual assignment sheet, that'll be there because I'm updating this live-ish. Okay, gonna pause the video to see what else I have to say. Okay, I'm back. So at the end, you need to include a bibliography. So all of the pictures you take off the internet, they need a citation. So this might be a long bibliography. Use APA format with the immigration assignment. Everybody seemed to record that record those successfully. So use the same format used there, APA. Try to make sure they're alphabetical. Okay. So that's essentially what you'll put in there. So at the end, you've got a bibliography. If we take a look, so we will have done everything that we've got here. Typically, when I do assignments like this, I know you've got a checklist kind of like this. I would also just check off. I would save my own copy of the assignment sheet and just cross off the stuff that I'm getting done, just so I know I'm doing it. These links, I will put them on the Google Classroom, and I will add more links as I go that I think may be useful. Here's the rubric. This is how you're going to get marked. So I would scan this. I would be looking to like the level 4 areas, visited 4 different regions. Make sure you cover all the requirements for each location that you easily get those. Do some grammar checks, Grammarly maybe. I don't know. I don't think you need it. I'm pretty sure Google does it too. You want to make sure it's nice and looks good. If you follow the exemplar, you are going to get level 4 because look at this. Even with the scribbles, look at it. Okay, So that's pretty much what I can tell you thus far. I may post more videos or supplementals based on like challenges people are having me with this. You can post any sort of questions you have below in the comments on the class website, because this is probably going to be on the YouTube. But yeah, you can post anything on the class website based on the assignment, or you can email me, and I can try to. If it's a common problem, that's why I think posting on a classroom website is better. If there's a problem that a lot of people are having, then I will just make a new video and address it and show you how to do the things. But for now, I'm just going to say bye. There we are. Bye, and good luck.